What's going on, guys? My name is Tom, and today I'm going to be going through the first 5 settings that I go through and look for anytime I buy a new camera. So for today's video, I'm using the Sony a6400. It's the camera that I've used for the past year or so. I moved from the Canon M50, and so the setting menu was quite different. Canon is well known for their easy to access menus, and Sony is well known for their not so easy to access menus. And so the first thing that I did when I got this camera was look for these 5 settings. So the first thing I look for in the settings menu is the file format for both photography and for video. For photography, that's RAW or JPEG. I personally always shoot in RAW. And for video, that will be changed in 1080p, 720p, or 4K. And I also look for the recording settings, which will allow you to change between 60 FPS or 100 FPS or 24, whatever tickles your fancy. Whatever you prefer. I personally at the moment am shooting in 4K, but if you're doing B-roll, if I'm doing B-roll, I'd like to change to slow motion. This camera sadly does not shoot slow motion in 4K, so it means I have to change it to 1080p in order to record in 60 or 120 FPS, which is why I put the record settings and also the file format for video within the My Menu section on this camera. I'm not sure if every camera has like a favorites menu or anything, but this one does, and those are the 2 things that I have within that menu, so I can quickly change between the 2 depending on what I'm shooting. The next thing I look for is actually the record level and also the audio record display. So this camera actually default, the display is off, so I cannot see the peaking levels on the monitor. I always make sure that it's on so that I can keep an eye on the levels. And then I look for the audio record level option within the settings and add that to my menu so that I can easily adjust the audio levels. At the moment, I'm on 10, but you might want to up it if you're in a loud environment, or you might want to lower it if you're in quite a quiet environment so that your voice isn't peaking. You also might want to adjust these levels depending on what mic you use. I'm currently using a lav mic, and so it means I don't want it to be too loud because it's right next to my mouth. Whereas if you're using a shotgun mic or just a regular mic that sits in front of you, you might want it a little bit louder so that it can pick your voice up quite clearly. The next thing I do is actually, this is not in any particular order, but I also look for where the ISO, shutter speed, and the aperture options are because they're different on each camera. On this camera, for example, this is just default, I haven't changed this, but the top scroll wheel is the aperture, and then the little wheel around the display and where you kind of select up and down in the menus is the shutter speed. The ISO conveniently is right next to that same wheel, and it's literally its own option, which you can also find within the functions menu option, which I'll get onto later on. But for the next settings that I look for is actually where the format is, and I add that to my menu as well because I use that quite often. Whenever I finish shooting a specific video, whether I've shot a bit today and a bit tomorrow, I keep the same card. And then once I've taken all the footage off when a video is complete, I can then rename all those from the C001, which is set to default, to the video title _1 _2, whatever it may be, and then format that card. The reason I rename them is because I've had a problem in the past where there's been some lost footage and I've went set to link it, but it's found any video file that is named C001, and so the edit in the sequence has been completely off. So I'd recommend renaming any file that you put into your hard drive or your computer when you have done that. The final thing I look for is the function menu settings, and this is because there's usually a quick access menu button for Sony, at least. This is called function menu, and it just basically allows you to adjust the drive mode, your focus area, and it's just a quick and nice, easy way to change those settings if you need to. I personally tend to use continuous focus on this camera because it's got very fast and steady focus, and I usually use a wide area of focus depending on the video. For this one, it's just central. For my boss's videos, I just do in the corner because that's where he stands. So it depends on your preference. You also have access to the frame rate if you want to do the S&Q, so the slow motion go all the way to 120 rather than just 60. And I also keep my white balance and also picture profiles within this menu also. But that's basically it. Hopefully it's about 5 minutes. The 5 settings I look for on any camera when I first get one within 5 minutes. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like and also subscribe if you did. Leave a comment with any questions that you may have and also any video ideas because I'm always stuck on those. And I will see you in the next video.